I will go over there because I got one on Brown Street right now that I went by it yesterday, and it's horrible. So I will be prioritizing that one. Not saying that everything else is minimized, but it's just a problem for everybody over there. So we do have a method to the madness. So
Madness being the
Yes.
part. I know that the house that we spoke about that you did clean up,
Yes.
that fell through the cracks. And through blight court. You know, they had failed to prepare, so there was, you know, and so they had received the judgment against them, and then it just sat there for months, and it was like nobody knew. And so I want to make sure that we can follow that process through so that that doesn't happen for other neighbors who have been waiting and waiting and waiting to get houses taken care of.
yes, if it gets to that point and it's defaulted, they didn't show up or whatever, once that 28 days is up, on the 29th day, we can go collect it. If it gets to that point and I haven't collected it within that 29 days, it's on me. So it's just about scheduling. So I'm gonna take the blame for anything that's outside of that. But I will be getting around to them. So
Okay.
no, nothing else said. Less said. Say less.
Okay. Ladies, who would like to go first? Do you have questions? We're on mayors. We're doing all the mayor. So the mayor consists of cannabis, blight, and the city administrator.
Flint, are you going? I just wanted to, did the mayor do his budget presentation?
Back in December. That's the only one he's required to do.
Because we usually do have one right before we do.
We received the budget in March, as we were
Okay.
supposed to, by email, and, but the mayor did not present that budget. They presented the preliminary one, which is the only thing that they're required to do by, the charter.
Yeah, but we always have that before we even go into budget hearings. In any case, thank you guys for being here. I have a couple of questions. I was looking at Mr. Edwards. I'm looking at the personnel and the pension for the mayor's office. And I don't know if this question was already asked. How many individuals are working in the mayor's department, under the mayor's department?
Yeah, previously we answered that question of 14.
That includes the city administrator
Yes,
as
I'm
well.
sorry.
There are 14 people in the mayor's and administrator's office combined.
So it includes the city administrator,
Right.
okay? Now, if I go to the city administrator, what is the number of personnel under the city administrator? Since you're saying that,
Between the mayor and the city administrator, there are 14 employees total.
so if you look here, so why do we have two different sheets that state personnel?
We allocate it based on where they're working. If you look at the sheets that we use to develop the budget, some people will spend 100% of the time on the mayor, some people spend 100% of the time on the administrator, and some are shared. And we allocate that based on where the time is spent.
Okay, so let's break this down.
Okay.
For the city administrator, under the city administrator, you see where there's personnel
Right.
and pension. The amount, how many individuals do this amount take care of?
Give me a moment, I can count them.
Pardon me?
I can count them, give me a moment.
I'm looking at this right here. Yeah,
Okay. No,
Judy, I'm asking questions.
oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Trying to assist, sorry.
No, I know
For
what
the-
I'm looking at.
For the mayor's office, for wages and most of the benefit, many of the benefits, we're requesting $871,421. Now, the number of employees that are in that, I'd have to count that.
Okay, I'm gonna need that information as well as the information for the city administrator. I mean, if you're gonna have two separate sheets here, this sheet for the mayor, and it
Right.
defines
Right.
the amount for the personnel, and then this sheet for the city administrator.
That's correct.
And it defines the amount for the personnel under
Right.
the city
For-
administrator.
For the two offices, there are actually a total of 20 positions, of which 14 are currently filled,
Right,
and employees work, some employees work 100% for the mayor, some work 100% for the administrator, and some are allocated between the two.
okay, so can we have a breakdown of that?
I can get you something like that, yes.
Okay, I want to
That's-
know, so you're saying between the mayor and the city administrator, there are 14 individuals working?
Yes, as when the budget was prepared, there were 20 positions that were budgeted in total, but there are 6 vacancies.
Okay. So I want to know, I want a breakdown. I want to know how many people work under the mayor's office as far as the mayor, the personnel for the mayor, because you see where the personnel for the mayor for the fiscal year of 2025 is 871,000, right?
Correct.
And 421. So how many individuals are working under this?
I can get you a list.
Okay, as well as for the city administrator, whereas there's 364,870, okay?
Right. Correct.
All right.
That's correct.
And I got the personnel for the cannabis
Right.
enforcement. I think that was 1 full-time and 2 part-time. The personnel for the blight department, what do we have? As far as the personnel under the blight department.
We have there are a total of, I believe, 15 positions that are budgeted, of which 10 of them are occupied.
You said 15
Correct.
budgeted?
Budgeted, but only 10 of them are filled at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Brown,
Yes, ma'am.
question. At what point do you plan to fill the additional 5 vacancies?
Right now, I'm interviewing right now. So,
It's already in the Human Resources office with the job descriptions, and people can apply?
yes, ma'am. It's open.
Okay.
It's actually open now.
And that's for 5 vacancies?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so the 10 that's filled, of course, is your position. How many full-time?
They're all full-time.
They're all full-time?
Yes, ma'am.
So what do we have? What are the job titles?
Blight elimination laborers and blight elimination laborers, CDL, and principal clerk typist, and I have a, forgot what Harletta's position is, but she's an administrative, a management assistant.
So you have 10 positions right now.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever go through, I know we kind of talked about this, whereas I feel that we should have a couple of blight persons, laborers, for each ward. Maybe 2 per ward. Or even, we can even divide the city up in quadrants, you know, and maybe 2 or so per quadrant. Did we ever do that? How do you have them working? How do they go out and?
We do everything by enforcement. So mainly like illegal dumping and activities like that, I try to, you know, when I get a complaint or we have hot spots, a list of hot spots, we go out and try to look at. I get referrals from you guys. I try to fill those in because we have blight cleanups that we have to go through blight court. So everything is like revolving. So I understand what you're talking about because that was my plan in the beginning to like have 4 and divide the city in quarters and have 4 in each ward. But it'll come. We're still working toward that direction.
Yeah, because my concern is it fair? You know, across the wards, are wards getting their fair share of blight laborers, you know, to clean up? And I know when we call, you do, because I've talked to you personally, you do go out and you make sure it happens. But do you have your whole team with you at that point, or are you guys divided up, whereas you can take care of issues throughout the city?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yes, we do. Sometimes we have people out mowing, you know, intersections or whatever, and then we'll have people out collecting. But when it's like a large cleanup, we all come together and
Okay.
and do that. So,
And you have enough people, and you're gonna have
I will
enough
have
people
enough people.
once you
yes,
fill the 5 vacancies?
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I ain't gonna never say I got enough people, but I'm gonna have enough to get it done. So
Do we need to have more people in the blight department?
yeah, we talked about that before you got here. So we're gonna try to get 5 more.
Okay? Because that's very important, the blight.
Yes, ma'am.
The issue over there on Caldwell
Yeah.
and Concord.
Yes.
Actually, Concord, from Caldwell down to
Gene.
Kirk or
Gene.
Jean. Yes, that the whole street.
Yes.
And then there's a couple other hot spots. You know, if you think about Bright, over on the old map for the 5th Ward.
Rankin
I
and
mean,
Bombright.
you know, these are hot spots that probably your team probably need to drive through every day or every so often during the week to make sure those areas are cleaned up. I always have issues over there on 11th,
Yes.
in between Garland and Grand Traverse, you know, where they'll just drive through and throw trash in the middle of the street, garbage bags, whatever.
We do that every Monday. We have a whiteboard. We have like maybe 20 spots on there.
Okay,
And
that you guys make
we do
sure.
that every Monday morning when we first get in to see what's going on. So,
Okay,
and everything that you just said is something at them spots every time we go out there. So.
okay, thank you. So that's blight, cannabis. What about the fire training, center and the ambulance?
That's the next hearing. This is just the mayor.
Oh,
That's
okay.
for the next.
So that probably should have been separated, like, off to itself, by itself. Okay, so, I think that's it for me for now. Are you guys, for the mayor's office, Mr. Edwards, you guys have 6 vacancies, right?
Yes.
What are the 6 vacancies? What do they entail? What are the,
Mind you, these change daily, so I may be off a little bit. But we need a grants coordinator,
okay.
a videographer and photographer,
A what?
a videographer and photographer.
Okay.
Uh,
Why would we need a videographer? What's the purpose of that?
Archiving the activities for the residents, things that we pursue, programming, whatever activities that are out there that are stimulated from the mayor's office, or even from council. If there's activities going on, this videographer can provide that kind of support.
Yeah, wouldn't that, I'm just concerned, wouldn't that fall under the communications director?
Yeah, that's still part, the communications director's primary function is to develop stories, develop written communications as they might be. This person would, because even with the person that's assisting right now, they go out on a different set of assignments than the communication. The communication person is overseeing all the various assignments, but they will send out or dispatch that person to take care, get photos, get videos, in this case, of things that are necessary to bring together a true picture of what's going on in the city.
Or is this just the person that's gonna be following the mayor around and taking pictures, doing photo ops for the mayor? And video for the mayor?
We use videography or some kind of photo and video when we were talking about the secondary water source, developing, because we used an outside company to develop the actual video that talked about the 2 water sources. If you saw that 5-minute production that was put together about the water sources, that was done by an outside company. So this is about bringing those services in-house rather than purchasing or having contracts with outside firms.
Okay, we've never had a videographer. Have we?
I don't know the answer to that. I haven't been here long enough to know the history.
Mr. Edwards, have we?
I'm not familiar with whether, prior to us, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we've never had this as a position. I've been on this council since 2017, and we've never had a position for a videographer. Anyway, so you got the grants coordinator, the videographer, and what else do we have?
Marketing coordinator, a
You
community
said a
liaison.
marketing coordinator?
Marketing. And some of these may have been filled, because this is probably dated. We have community liaison, we have 2 of those positions.
I can't understand you, Mr. Moore.
2 community liaisons,
2 community liaisons?
right? Administrative assistant. And 2 interns.
So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, one administrative assistant,
Yes,
and then,
2 interns.
2 interns. So, of course, the interns, they're not getting paid.
They are paid, but they don't receive benefits. They usually work part-time. We have, I know in my department, we find that the interns add a lot of value to
So
the dollar.
that's included, that's budgeted, the 2 interns as well.
That's correct. Those have been
Okay.
budgeted, but they haven't been filled yet.
Okay. Okay. All right, so when do we plan, I don't know, I'm gonna be watching closely as far as that videographer. Because in my opinion, that's a position that we don't even need. We've never had that position. And I think we can do without that. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out the communications director, what would she do, you know, when she's out in the field? But
I
that's
think,
me.
I think you'll find our communications director is kind of overwhelmed. There's a lot of work for her to do, and she's been quite busy.
Okay. Ms. Sparks Green, how are you? So where do you fall here tonight?
I'm under the administration, and I work for Mayor Ann.
Oh, so you're one of the positions where you're
Yeah,
being,
yeah, but I report to Clyde.
okay,
Okay.
okay. All right. So her, Ms. Sparks Green, her position is under this, city administration, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And
Okay. I would think, so that's it as far as, the mayor's office, city administration, as far as what I wanted to know, as far as personnel and what's budgeted for. Do we need any other, personnel?
I'll let you speak to that.
No. There's nothing in addition to what's being presented.
Okay. Okay. No wish list?
So funny, Madam Green.
Y'all know I don't like to, cut jobs. That's something I'll probably never vote for. But, certainly, if we have these things already budgeted, I would say go ahead and fill those positions. Because when I drive around and look at what's going on in the city, particularly the blight department and stuff, we gotta do better. We gotta do better. I get calls every day, and I know some of it falls on, land bank, you know, but we should be out there, the whole team, and I can't wait until you're able to fill your positions, Mr. Brown, because that's gonna, you know, help with clearing up the blight in this city. So, that's it.
Ms. Burns? What we're doing is we're going in order of it when people got here.
Okay, so she covered a lot of things.
Mr. Moore, could you please give a copy of the org chart so we know who's working for the city and what title and what their job is? That would be for the city administrator and for the mayor, because a lot of those jobs cross-connect because they basically are working the same department, the same area in the mayor's office. So that'll clear that up so we can know who do we call? I mean, it doesn't make sense we do not have a copy of, hey, who works here? This is this person. This should be a directory. That's just every city municipality has a directory. Who do you contact? That's just doing business. So if we can have the names and then the positions for who works in what department, that should be given. Actually, we shouldn't even be having to ask for it. You know, it should have been available. What was the salary for the videographer that was budgeted?
$65,000.
Seriously?
Yes.
Everybody use their phones. I mean, we can contract that out. I didn't think Paul, who was doing our meetings, was getting that much. What was he, 30,000 a year, 35? Okay, so when we look at a videographer, we don't need a videographer. I don't think that's necessary. I do not. That I do not. But if we can have the positions and then put the salaries by it so that we know, that would be great, so we can have our own breakdown. So we can see, please. The other question is, the mayor's vehicle, is it still on the police budget or has it been transferred over to his budget?
I'm not sure I know the answer about, I know there's a vehicle provided, but I don't know the details of that.
It's been on the police budget, and I think they were supposed to try to get it switched over. Is it still on, is the vehicle still on the mayor's budget, or is it on the police budget?
There's been activity on his budget for that, so I assume it's not being charged to him.
Pardon me?
There's been activity in his budget for that, so I assume that's his car that's being charged.
No, it's been on the police budget.
I
Since,
I-
yeah,
I
since
can-
he's
I can
had
check
it.
into that and verify
Yeah,
that. but-
could you do that to see, and how much, because that's on the police budget? Because if the mayor has enough room, it should be on the mayor's budget. Only he drives that vehicle, and that should be on his budget. It should not be on the police budget. He's been driving that same car for 2019. And so it should be on his budget so that we have the appropriate budgets to be in a line.
I'll look into that and I'll get back to you on that.
Okay, yeah, and I'm positive about that too. So, the cannabis, what was the state revenue sharing for that?
How much did we receive this? We
Yes.
received the marijuana tax, we received approximately $560,000
This past year?
this past year.
That was our portion?
That was our portion, and that's based on, they take a look at the marijuana tax throughout the state, and they divide it by the number of dispensaries in the state, and each city gets their prorated share based on the number of dispensaries that your city has.
Okay, so we got 560,000. I remember our first year was on like 80, and it didn't even make sense we were spending more on personnel because you go through so many departments to get a marijuana facility approved. So our share this year was
Well-
560,000.
When they made the count for the dispensaries, we had 9.
We
I believe we're up to 11 at this point.
We have 11, thank you, that was my next question. We now have 11 dispensaries. How many do we have that are in the process of applying or in that?
I don't have a clue.
We know weed is big.
Yeah, I know that, just from talking with the coordinator, that there were approximately, I believe, 12 applications.
Where is he at? Was it Montel?
yes.
Yeah.
Where's he at?
Family related.
Okay.
When we talk about the pending ones, not all of them are, I suspect not all are dispensaries. Some may be grow operations, some may be testing. And so not all of those will generate revenue, but we still have to go through the same permitting process.
Okay, how many do we have that are in the process now? And then I have a question too. Is that new Security Federal Credit Union off of there, is that in there to be sold again? Because I know there was someone who had applied before. Is that one being applied for again for a site? It was right near the St. John's, it was the path issue. I don't know if they got that cleared up. It used to be the old Security Federal building. No one's buying that one for a marijuana place? Actually, I always thought it was a great location because it's not on the main street to where you were advertising marijuana. But, so how many do we have that are applying? Maybe I didn't get that number, I'm sorry. That haven't been approved, that are in the process?
The CFO, Mr. Moore, corrected my number. My number was based on all applications that's being received. However, if there's a discriminatory number here based on dispensaries only, I don't have that information.
Okay, just give me a total number, everybody in the pool. Because if it's weed, what's weed? And let's see everybody who got one that wanted to grow some weed, sell some weed. How many do we have all together?
My understanding in talking with the coordinator was 12.
12 that are in the system now?
12 applications.
More. Okay.
That are, pending.
Okay.
Through some stage of the process.
12 pending application, okay. And that is going to be divided up into some grow facilities, some selling, retail, okay. Okay, blight. Number of tickets written for our last fiscal year. I think Attorney Kim said 1,500, is that correct?
Yes.
So we take 9 wards, if we do some math, and I don't have a calculator. We take 1,500 tickets, we divide it, we gotta take out weekends, we say divided by 365, maybe. How many tickets are we getting written a week?
It all depends. They've been down, they've been down because of the winter, but they're starting to pick back up now. So, I'm gonna say anywhere from 7 to 15.
Okay. And so, if we have, so that, I think that averages out about 4 tickets a day. And then if we take off some weekends, so we have 9 people, we average about, how many do we have now? We have 9 wards.
You have 9 wards, but you have like 7 NSOs.
We have 7 NSOs.
You got a couple covering 2 areas.
Okay. And so if we take 1,500 tickets, 365 days, so the average ticket that they're writing per day? Is it 4 tickets?
4 tickets.
4 tickets a day? And so I'm gonna tell you, we can get 4 tickets on a block.
I know.
I mean, I'm sorry, and I'm gonna tell you, this is my biggest peeve. And because we have very nice new trucks that I supported them getting, and I don't know, how do we fix the blight department? It has to be changed. I know it's underneath the mayors. I know that we have Nicole Reed underneath the police department because of the grant, but can we move it? To me, it just makes, I know, Arna, work with me, I know you dropped your head. That office gets everything, hot spots, it gets everything. And if we freeing up Nicole Reed to where, or, to the police department doesn't have that, you hire someone who's managing those NSOs. And I'm not saying she's doing a bad job, but she should probably be working on crime. We summertime, we have an uptick now in shootings. We don't need her doing blight, we need her doing crime, working in the police department. And so to manage someone, because your department knows where, they know everything's at. It's been moved to the mayor's budget, so having the NSOs managed with someone who can handle managing it, which would be someone that you can, because it's not working. I was on the block in the NSO, and this was not in my ward. She drove by, the lady was just yelling, "These are basketball hoops over here in the street, they don't do anything." NSO rolled down the street, rolled back down the street again, never stopped. 3, 4 violations. If our first sight is to have NSOs to see it, nice if you write a warning ticket, that was very nice, and if you do that, but then to write one afterwards when they say, you know what, we're not doing it. You know, then enforce it. We're not enforcing. People treat our city like a trash can. And it's evident in every word. They don't care. Just the disrespect that is given is just ridiculous. So if they're averaging 4 tickets, their job is to talk to people, get to know people, to give warnings, address their issues. It may be the connecting if it's tall grass. Some block clubs will help you cut the grass. You will help cut grass to make sure. Mr. Brown, I've seen it. It's not working. Our city looks bad, and the people don't care. So how do we fix it? NSOs drive all day. Is there an expected amount that they should, because we're saying if they're averaging 4, we got 7 people, and out of 7 people per day, only 4 of them in the city of Flint are writing a ticket? Come on now. We want people to move to Flint. We gotta look like Flint wants to be a place to move to. Well, you got 7 people. See, we don't even have 7 people a day writing a ticket. We don't. So it makes the NSOs a joke. And that's the first thing that I could tell you the calls I get, blight crime first. I mean, and people with music and parties. Parties is the new thing. I had someone tell Chief Green's people to kiss they A, they wasn't cutting the music down. And they mean it. Every night they got their music blasted. So enforcement is an issue. If blight department is not writing enough tickets, and I understand getting out and talking to them, being polite, I get that. But then we have to say, you know what? If you're not taking this serious, then what you have to do is go a step further. Issue the ticket. And those tickets started, what, $250?
$250.
That meant, and it used to be, what, 45 or 50?
50.
50. So it has increased to where it makes impact. The NSOs have a job. How do we measure how they're doing their job? 1, how many tickets they're writing. 2, then it's to the legal. How much is our legal department enforcing them? Are they taking it to blight court? What is our legal department? Because they go hand in hand. What is legal doing? Are they enforcing these? We got to do better. This is terrible. Not just that. When we clean up blight, we clean up crime. Crime reduces. Studies show it. And Mr. Brown, you do a great job. Some stuff that you've been cleaning up, it's been ridiculous. I'm gonna be honest with you with some of the stuff. You shouldn't have to. The way some of these people live, it's just nasty. It's bad. So how do we get them? And I think that needs, if it's something, do you think that's something that you could handle? If you had a position to where that person managed, they were good at managing, making sure, and that's gonna require them to be out in the field to following up with NSOs. Because I see some NSOs sitting behind buildings, not doing nothing. They got nice new trucks. Nice new trucks that the city paying for. They got air conditioning. They can't say, oh, it was too hot to ride. They're nice. And they got computers, laptops. They got all the technology. Am I correct, Mr. Brown?
Yes, ma'am.
They got all the technology. There's no reason. They're completely mobile. And we got 7 people and only 4 can write a ticket per day on an average. Yeah, well, that's a whole nother one. The warning was written on, not even on the letterhead. It should be a city seal. Nice warning, but have a warning for a system. If they're gonna say, I'm gonna warn you, have something with the city seal that's official. Because we don't want to look like Pookie and Ray Ray wrote the ticket. You know, because we're like, who left this ticket? It's not serious. Have something with the city seal official. I mean, that's just getting it done by a printing company. It's nice to give a warning, I like that. Have it on official paper, so that it looks like it's serious. You know, and we gotta create that relationship. So blight is a problem. I don't think Chief Green would mind giving Nicole Reed back to the police department. I know with the grant that may be an issue, Mr. Edwards. How do we fix it? I mean, this is a good look, I think, for this administration, fix blight. The NSOs are our first defense to fixing blight. They see it. If they're driving up and down them streets, unless they driving with their eyes closed, you got to see it. You can't miss it. It's there. It's everywhere. You can't miss it. So blight, big problem. If you could tell us your positions that you have in blight, your blight people are great. They're great. I will say that you have. Harletta Martin, great. Kamisha, did I say her name correct? Great. Was it Jonathan?
Justice.
Well, the name with a J. Great, your department is great, but you need one person managing. That department cleans up our city. They ride around. If they riding around and they can't get 100 tickets a day, you have one blight person, and I'm gonna tell you, I may not agree with her in anything else. She wrote tickets and she was about her job. She wrote tickets and she talked, yep, well, you know what, you just can't have that car here with the engine sitting on the side of it. That's just, you're just breaking the code. You can't have this car, look, this tag, this serial number came back stolen. Yep, I'm gonna write you a ticket, yep, and I'm doing this. And she's explaining to them, and she did her job. She's no longer with that department, but we need people like her when you're hiring, who are gonna do their job. So, I know other people want to talk, but blight, big thing. And Mr. Edwards, I would like to just call you to talk to you about that. Is that okay? Because I know we have a very limited amount of time to go over everything, and I want to be respectful of my colleagues. So, Mr. Moore, if you could send me those, like, or the positions, so we know who's working in the city.
I've been thinking about that. We can work on it, but that may take a little bit of work to put together, so.
Okay.
We
And it's
have
just like a
500 employees.
directory, so that we know who's working in the city, so that we know who to call. Not something that we necessarily share, but we need to know who's working with whom or in what department, so we get to the right department. I mean, that's how we function as a normal city, and we need to get to that position since we're not in emergency management. I think that's it, but blight, I don't want to take up the time with blight, but can I give you a call about that, Mr. Edwards? So that we can have a conversation, because them NSOs, I'm telling you, I see them parked. And if they riding all day, you got 7 and only 4 tickets per day, come on. We can get 5 in my block. That ain't even going to the next block. I'm serious. So, all right, I'm done.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Mstrad.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'm probably going to start within Clyde. Forgive me if, Mr. Edwards, forgive me if I missed who is under your budget. Could you please, and if you've already done it, could you just state it again for me?
There are 3 positions designated in my budget.
What are the 3 positions?
One is, of course, myself. And then there's the receptionist, and then my own assistant.
Okay, thank you. I'm actually not gonna be that long. I'm going straight to blight. So I fully support the work that you and your department are doing. You know, I always feel like we need to dedicate more money to your department and make sure that you have more employees. I did hear something, though, that is alarming. I know at the beginning of my tenure, we asked for reports. I've not been receiving those reports to find out the number of tickets that are written or what they are written for. And so is it possible for us to receive those reports? I'd also ask Officer Reed for them as well. And I know that unless I'm on top of her, then I won't get them from her either. And I'm told that for some reason you all might have 2 separate reports that you provide.
They actually start the whole process. So you won't get anything from us until that process has been followed and the enforcement takes place. because we don't have anything to do with what they do out in the field till it gets to us. So that would be a misread thing for you.
Okay, now, it's also my understanding that the NSOs will be moved under blight. Is that correct? They are not being moved under blight? No.
Well, it was talked about, but it was a funding issue from what I'm, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Edwards. It was a funding thing that was gonna take place. They thought they were losing a grant, and that didn't take place. So everything is status quo as far as I'm concerned right now.
All right, so basically when it's time to talk or ask questions about the NSO, we should save that for the police?
Yes.
Okay. Then I actually don't have any questions for you, then all my questions are gonna be for the police. Well, maybe you can answer the question about what we're doing with repeat and long-term offenders. Because there are times when vehicles may be ticketed, the resident will remove the ticket and not move the vehicle. Or there are times when, and I know they take advantage of the ordinance, and so that's kind of on us to fix that ordinance, where they will get ticketed for something, they'll fix it, change the problem, but then 2 weeks later or whatever, after they've resolved it, after they did not have to pay the full fee, fine for that ticket, they'll go right back and do the same thing. And so I'm just wondering, how are we handling repeat and long-term offenders?
Well, I think that, again, that's a
Got it.
police function.
Got it.
But I can tell you this, they were in conversation with legal in trying to change that ordinance verbiage. So, that would be another question that you could ask them.
Then I am set, because the rest of my questions are definitely for police as is in regard to blight. I'm clear on the cannabis enforcement, and so, thank you.
Okay, so hearing that you are 2 NSOs short, so when were you all looking to hire the other 2? I don't know if I missed that part.
I think they, and again, that's probably a police thing, but I only know what I see. And I know that they had, one just transferred to another department, and then one was off on leave. So that's why they were short. So I don't know whether they have a process or where they follow, where they can backfill those positions that are available or open. So that's something that I don't know what's going on with, so.
All right, can anyone speak to that? All right. The reason being, having 2 less NSOs, making a NSO cover 2 wards, that's a lot. And right now, the fact that, I don't know how long that it's been open or how long that you all foresee it being open, but it affects the residents. You know, having someone share ward number 2, I have enough violations on my block to fill up an entire day, and that's just my block. So now imagine you are stretching NSOs thin. We really do need to get on back filling these positions, because it's making neighborhoods suffer. And so we really need to get an answer and not speculate, because again, I don't like coming out seeing garbage out. Well, when trash day is on the Monday, you put your garbage out on Wednesday, and we're forced to look at your garbage. I know my block is not unique, so just imagine this going on throughout the entire 2nd ward, and we don't have anyone to police it. So I would like to find out, we need to find out where you all are at as far as in the hiring process, and what is your projected timeline. All right, and then in terms of part-time NSOs, just a thought, because I see a lot of violations happen during the afternoon, evening time, and also on the weekend. So have you all thought about employing part-time NSOs?
I have no idea of what's going on with the NSOs. I'll take care of the after enforcement part. As far as what they're doing over there, as far as, I know some ways to fix things, but that's kind of out of my area. I don't deal with the NSOs from the police standpoint.
Okay, so you mind me asking, so who can speak about the NSOs? I mean, it's,
And you probably, just as Councilwoman Mashat brought up, you probably want to save that for when you talk to the police department, because they have direct authority over the NSOs.
and it looks like that's not working too well. So, thank you, Mr. Edwards. Yeah, so that's it. I'll just stop there. Thank you.
Well, then, thank you very much. Appreciate it. You're done. You're just excused for the day. If you could get any information that was asked to Davina, she can,
Hold on, hey Judy, real quick,
Yeah.
before you dismiss. Mr. Edwards, I had a very long conversation with Chief Green about blight and NSOs. I think your department needs to get with, because he's saying one thing, you know, that it's Nicole Reed, but it's underneath the mayor's department because of the grant. And I think the departments need to, I mean, we had an at-length conversation. Yes, Ms.
You do have a function, the CDBG grant.
That's from mine.
That's code enforcement, but it's all housed through the police department. It's all housed through the police department. They have a police grant. It's all housed through the police department.
Right, so the funding is there.
The funding is all there. And I get it. I hear everybody echoing it. The same thing. We need the police department and Blight needs to sit down to have a meeting and find out how we better service the community. I get that because it's kind of dysfunctional to say the least. So let's get together and figure out what we can do about it. So.
Yeah, because if that money is coming in through there, I don't know how do we change, you know, can you modify or get it, or for the grant, because it's from Mott, it is underneath the mayor's budget. Blight is underneath the mayor's budget. That was moved in 2020 to his budget. And how do we get all that to be one department, one funding, one person responsible, so that it's functioning, so that you can have good policies and procedures, so that it's working? Because I think a lot of that falls in between the gaps, because some of them have learned how to work the system.
Yeah.
You know, they kind of teeter-tottered in between, and then still we get all of the questions and the problems over it. I think that if we have got 7 Blight people, we should be able to you can write a ticket a day. I mean, that's at the very minimum, because you have to have some type of system to measure how they're, you know, are they successful at their job? And are they doing their job? Another one, it would be mileage. You know, if you're driving, we know that, I don't know, is there a governor on their vehicles, or are we logging daily mileage to see how much area that they're covering? If they're covering the area, then you gotta see Blight. So there has to be someone clearly to supervise, a supervisor or a manager, because it's not working. And it's not working to the detriment of the city. And we need to fix that. That's one of it's crime and Blight, and they go hand in hand. I mean, crime now, because it's summer and everyone, you know, is out, you know, and then 2 is Blight, but they go hand in hand. If we clean up Blight, then we don't have as much crime. People start appreciating where they live. So I think and Mr. Brown, you are correct. We need to get together. And the NSOs, no. I think this is probably the one thing every council member agrees on is Blight. I don't think we fight on that. Everyone agrees, you know, we have a problem in our wards with that, and it needs to be corrected. Maybe just because I'm looking at how, when you manage, you're holding them accountable. You know, when you're having this meeting, how many tickets did you get? I need your mileage. What is your daily mileage? They have computers. They have everything to do what they need to do. And I'm not saying go in, you know, enforce and write a $250 ticket to everybody, but write a ticket or give a warning on some legal paperwork that's got a city label, a city header on it, so we know where it's coming from. And then that way we're we got to start looking professional. We can't look like, you know, we saying be professional, but we don't look like it. I appreciate the person, and I think it was, they wrote it in my ward, the nice warning ticket that's been all over social media. But it should have been on, official, city, we need to get something created. It's on the official city paper with the header. Yes, Mr. Harris?
Yeah, I heard you mention that before. Can you send me that photo?
Yeah, they even
because-
wrote in cursive, I believe. And
Yeah,
so
because
Di-
I know there are official tickets. I mean, there are official stickers that have
Right,
been used.
that
So
they
can you
peel
s-
off.
Yeah, can you send me what
Yeah, I
was
will.
used?
Yes, I will most definitely do that. Because I think if we want to be taken seriously in the blight department that falls underneath the mayors, we need to look official for people to take us serious. So, thank you. And listen, thank y'all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll put it for part two.
That's right, you're here for the fire department. Oh, so is Shay, huh?
Yeah.
Right, 6. Yep.
I've read the email, but I've not taken any action at this point.
Okay. Just wondered, yeah.
It's been a very busy day. It's a typical Monday.
And you know what? The good news is that Shay and I were on the same page with the wrong thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was duplicative, and I didn't realize one canceled the other out, that's all.
Yeah.
That was a good one, that's
And
for
you
sure.
know what? I had it on my list too, so it wasn't, we both had it on our same list, and I
Yeah.
knew that.
Mhm.
And I'm
No,
looking at it and I'm going through the list of grants and saying, yeah, they've gotten it, yeah, they've gotten it, and I said, uh-oh.
Go to work, Chris. We'll do, all right. Oh, yeah. Especially on Pulaski Street. The Mitchell boys.
How's it going?
Reese, say something to the
How you
chief.
doing? How you doing?
About Pulaski Street.
Yeah.
Where you get
Yeah.
Oh, we got a race started. You on camera? Miss Daisy.
I'll do fine. Most of the questions have been more about policy than numbers. I do have a few more questions. And, you know, sometimes you just have to say, we can get that for you and we'll send it to you, because there's just no way that you're gonna know all your numbers. Particularly the way your budget is structured.
Just gonna make sure that. Pretty good. Right. Chris Rock. Get that, Chris. Will Smith already slapped me once.
No, Chief won't be here today.
Yes, please.
Shot town. Good to see you. Will Smith.
But it's good to see you.
Good to see you. Release that money. Don't get funny.
You know, the pandemic brought
Get
about
to your honeys.
new parties.
City Hall.
For
Ministry.
this younger generation, just no respect at all. Just none. Hold it. Hold it. They just don't care. Just disrespect. I had to tell the young girl across the street from me. There's people live on the street that's 96 years old. She done got her grandmother's house. They didn't tell the screen door off already. Oh, okay. I'm like, why is that the first?
Hi, Che.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. What time is this one?
Or-
What time is this? Are they starting this one?
I think you're supposed to be allowed. They're in charge.
Yeah, I know, I'm just asking.
All right, let's start the fire department. We want to go ahead and go through this now, Phil?
Okay, I'll start.
Or Mr. Moore, excuse me, I'll be polite.
The chief will not be with us tonight, but we have two experts with us. Karen, if you haven't met her, she is a real whiz with the fire department's budget, and I suspect she does probably 90% of their budgeting work. And if you have policy questions, we have Mr. Perkins, who knows the operations of the fire department very well.
Great.
And we have made a couple changes to the fire budget, which people should be aware of. First of all, in prior years, we had a lot of different subdivisions, which made it a lot of extra work in terms of administering the budget. It made it much more difficult to review it because people weren't always consistent from one year to the next. And so for this budget, we've consolidated those into one budget, which will make it easier to review, easier to find things. One of the issues that you have when you have all the different divisions, if you're ordering, preparing purchase orders, you might have to prepare 2, 3, or 4 purchase orders to the same vendor because you have different divisions. This simplifies it and makes it a little bit easier. The other thing which is important to remember is that we're now talking about having an ambulance service. When the budget was prepared and submitted to the city council, that had not been discussed, had not been decided. so that's not included in the budget, even though we're obviously moving forward with that. That's not a serious issue in the short term. Long term, we'll have to talk about that because we are looking at hiring some additional staff for the ambulances. From our projections, we should more than meet the cost of the additional staff through the billings from the ambulance service. And we'll have to make an amendment at some point to address that.
Mr. Moore, will that be a separate cost center for the ambulance, or? are we gonna
I
keep-
suspect that that probably will, just because that is such a different service. And we do want to make sure that we're not losing money on the ambulance service.
That was my suggestion. Okay, go ahead.
And we want to
Sorry.
make sure that that, at least breaks even, if not, our initial estimates show that we'll be making money from that. But at this point, that's just a guess. We think that's the case, but until we actually start running it and start seeing what our collections are, it's just our best guess at this point. The other thing which you should remember is the fire department is actually funded in two different funds. Part of it comes out of the general fund, and part of it comes out of the public safety fund. This year we made a real effort to make sure that the money in the public safety fund is spent first. Taxpayers voted for us to use that for the police and fire, and we want to make sure that we can demonstrate that the funds are being spent for how the taxpayers express their wish for it to be spent. So that there's been a little bit of shifting to make sure all the millage money is spent first. The other thing, which is something which I know that the council is very familiar with, is the fire training center. That's another issue which is kind of dominating discussion and staff time, is getting that up and running and talking about that. We have some really basic money in there, but if we are going to actually build it, we'll have to come back to the city council and amend the budget based on what we discover the cost and what we decide to do. So that's not in at this point, but we do know that we'll have to be back at some point for that. So with that, I'll turn it over to you and the staff.
Okay, I just want to make one comment to the council members, is that the department, if we look on page, in our budget report, that the first page has nothing in the activity for 2021, 22, 22, 23, and the amended budget for 23, 24, because this is a new cost center and those details are behind it. And the 2024, 25 budget, request budget for the data behind those is empty because it's now in the cost center, just so it's going to be a little bit more
Yeah.
convoluted,
Yeah,
that's all.
overall, it's very much a status quo budget. As you look at the budget on your screen, you can see there are a couple pieces of equipment and some renovations to the fire stations that are driving it up a little bit, but for the most part, it's a status quo budget.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go last if I need to. So I'm going to go ahead and Ms. Winfrey Carter, you started first last time, because Mr. Murphy isn't here. You want to go ahead? I'm doing it or I was thinking going in order of arrival to the meeting early, because I just thought that was fair. If you don't like it, that's fine. I'm just offering it to you to go first, if you wish.
I don't, okay. I was just sitting here trying to put my questions in. But anyway, I can start. All right, I am looking at personnel as far as the fire department. And Mr. Moore, I am looking at this sheet here,
Right, yes.
and we have here, what, for fiscal year 2025, even fiscal year 2024, a little over 5 million for personnel, right?
Correct.
Can you give me a breakdown of full-time, part-time?
I have that, I don't have it broken out by that. I can easily get that for you.
Can you please get that for me?
Right, that seems to follow in line with what Ms. Burns was asking for earlier, so, yes, I can work on that.
Yes. And how many, I see ambulance service, how many people do we have working as far as the ambulance service? I know that most of the firefighters, they're all trained with,
That's correct. You're 100% right. The idea is that all the firefighters will spend some time driving the ambulance, working on the ambulance, and all of them will spend some time fighting fires.
okay.
But if you're gonna have an ambulance that is making 10, 12 runs a day, it's not realistic to count on those same men to be at the fire that same day. So we are looking at probably hiring an additional 6 firefighters per ambulance that we acquire.
You said an additional 6?
For each ambulance, yes. Or- Okay, well, she corrected me, additional 7, I'm sorry.
What is it?
Additional 7 officer, firefighters for each ambulance that we will have.
Okay, so how many ambulance,
We're starting out with 1 ambulance. We want to make sure that that works well. There's, you want to have a kind of a shakedown cruise to make sure we have all the process procedures, everything in place. And once that happens, then we'll start expanding to some of the other fire stations. And I believe we're talking about 3 other additional others or 2 additional others.
As we go on, it's gonna be an additional ambulance.
It'll be at least 2 ambulances and possibly 3 more ambulances after the first one.
you said an additional 7?
Additional, right, we purchased 1 ambulance, and the plan is to expand to at least 2 more, possibly 3 more.
Okay. So, ma'am,
Yes,
your name, please.
my name is Karen Shim,
Okay. And your title?
Fire Administrative Support Technician.
Okay. And sir, your name?
Christian Perkins, I'm the Safety Training Chief.
Okay. Now, Mr. Moore, I need a breakdown. You said you're gonna get that to me.
I can get that for you, yes.
We got $5.3 million here for personnel.
Correct.
I want a breakdown of who that money, what jobs that money funds,
Okay,
okay?
all right. Let me make a note, and I'll make sure you get it.
Even down to the, starting with the fire chief on down. Do we have, so we have already budgeted for 7 additional firefighters?
That's not in the budget. This budget was prepared and submitted to the council before we had made that decision.
Okay,
And so we do know that we're going to have to make an adjustment at some point. That's not in the short term, that's not a problem. Long term, we'll have to do that.
so if you're going to amend what we have here, what is it gonna increase to? Do you already have that?
Uh,
Why do we have this?
part-
This is not complete?
That was prepared, that's off of the budget book that we
That's from the
provided.
budget book, and that's not, doesn't include the ambulance service, which we know is coming, and we do expect that the ambulance service will actually generate more revenue than expense.
The ambulance will be a budget amendment in order to add that on.
Okay. All right. I'm done. I'll pick up what I need to pick up from other people answering questions.
Go ahead, Ms. Burns. Yeah.
Thank you. Maybe, Mr., I find it hard to hear you, and I apologize. It is difficult. Can you say, we're funding the ambulances, and we have got, and you're hiring more.
Correct.
And so for each station, how many more are you hiring?
For the first ambulance, we're gonna,
The first what?
the first ambulance, we're planning to hire between 6 and 8 people.
Hold on, just, I can't hear, I guess she's in the back. So, and our acoustics echo, so I apologize. So, you said for the first ambulance you hired what?
We're advertising for 6 to 8 people for that first ambulance.
Okay, and that's for a 24-hour shift?
That's so that we have 2 people for the ambulance, and that should take care of them 24/7.
Say that again.
We're
Maybe it's just me, I'm having a difficult time understanding you. So you saying that's for 2 people?
2 people per ambulance, yes.
Per ambulance. And we have 1 ambulance now, where 2 are already on order, is that correct? Or have they been ordered yet?
They have not been ordered. We're not licensed at this point. We can't be operational until we get licensed. And so, we aren't
So
gonna buy
when is our licensing coming in?
we're hoping that everything will be, operational by the end of June, but we haven't really been promising that. We've been promising probably August 1st, just to give us some time to.
How long does it take to get a rig outfitted? Because it seems to me if we're worried about licensing, because sometimes some of these vehicles can take a year.
We have a rig already here. It's already here.
So the rig, okay, I saw the one out there.
Right.
So the other 2, what is your plan to order those?
Once we get operational and we're comfortable that we can do it properly, safely, and profitably, we're planning to order probably 2 more, 3 more ambulances.
And so the cost of this one, was it like $200,000 or $300,000?
I think it was just under $200,000.
Okay, and so the other ones are gonna be a different type, am I correct?
My understanding, they're planning to get the same type of ambulance. We do anticipate that we might be able to get it a little bit cheaper because we'll have a little bit more time in order to order it, that we might be able to get better bids.
Now, I thought that when they talked to us about those ambulances, when the pitch was, because there's different types that carry and can do more. So I was under the assumption we were going to use some of that opioid money to purchase the large ones, because most of our runs, we have a lot of, I'm not running.
I maybe defer to Mr. Perkins here, but
Yeah,
there are 3 different types of ambulances.
That is
Type 1,
correct.
2, and 3. We purchased a Type 2,
That is correct.
and the plan is for the rest of them to be Type 2 as well.
I thought we were getting a different one. So, Mr. Perkins, what are we getting? You're the fire, and how long have you been with the city?
The city, 24 years.
I've never seen you. Okay.
I like that.
Okay. So, what are the types, so we're getting the same ambulance that across, I thought we were getting a different ones, more like heavy duty, that do more. Or can you tell us what the difference, so everyone, what's the difference? You have type 2, what's the difference in these ambulances?
I can't, but he probably can.
Yeah, I would like Mr. Perkins to do it. Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Yes, it's basically just the size of the ambulances and the amount of weight that they can take. Some of it is the inside of the rear compartment, but for the most part, because we're doing basic BLS transport, we wanted to get something that would be less expensive, but with
What is basic BLS?
BLS are anything that doesn't involve us administering drugs via IV or doing things like intubations and things of that nature.
So you don't do anything to administer drugs?
No, with the exception of Narcan for overdoses,
So that's it.
yes. But we work in conjunction with Genesee County paramedics. They arrive on scene. The biggest problem that we're
So
having.
are we relying on the fire department to get there the same time as the paramedics for the county if someone has an emergency crisis? Because
We will arrive first.
I know we will, that's my concern is getting them there. And that's my concern, because I know when we had them before,
Yes.
how great it was.
We will arrive first, and we will package the patient so that we can get them transported. And then if they don't arrive soon, we are going to get that person going and headed to the hospital as quickly as possible, because the most important thing is to get them to the hospital.
But
We
you have
can't
no
make
drugs
them
on there. So we're just a transport service.
We're not just a transport service. If someone,
And I don't want you to think that I am, and I'm demeaning that. What I'm saying is the basic function. Because if we're talking about, if there's a heart attack patient, they may need, what's the pill that they put underneath their tongue? Nitroglycerin. Do you carry that?
no,
Okay.
we can assist if the patient already has nitrogen.
But if you don't have it, that's what I'm saying. When we talk about our community, and as you state, the weight, and what we are outrigging the rigs with, do we have life-saving medications, drugs to save lives? If we're having a heart attack and we gotta wait for the county sheriff, that's a problem. But you're saying, okay, you don't gotta wait, you're gonna take them, you're gonna, drive them there.
We're gonna put them on
But they could be
oxygen.
getting drugs in between. Now, are the EMTs licensed to do drugs here or to intravenously give you something? Are you licensed to that point?
Our ambulances will only be licensed for BLS activity unless a paramedic comes.
What about, and are all of the firefighters licensed EMTs, paramedics?
We're all licensed EMTs. We only have, I believe, 5 paramedics currently on the department. But this is because for the greater part of 20 years, we've only done medical first responder runs. So.
Right, and when they got away with it. So do you have people on there that we could get to send them to be for schooling for paramedics?
Yes.
Okay, because can we use opioid money, Mr. Moore, for that? Because that's a good use.
I think that most of that would qualify, but I'm not sure 100% would qualify.
Okay, could you please let me know? Because that's important. If we have an ambulance, people have the right to, or you want to know, am I going to get what I need? If I'm having a heart attack, I'm going to need some nitroglycerin. Maybe I didn't know I had a heart problem. And they need to get you the drugs that you need. We don't know. And so a lot of times with you 24 years experience, are you a licensed paramedic?
No longer.
No longer? Okay, well, we need to get you some of that opioid money to get you back in there to get licensed too. Yes, I think we know that in urban cities, and when you have a fire department or a department that can respond, you save lives. You save lives, and this is what's important. So now we're transporting until the Genesee County gets there, which we have the paramedic, and you may not arrive at the same time. And I get what you're saying. Well, you know what? We're going to, if it's life-threatening, we're going to get them to the hospital. It's not the same as when you are the first responder there. You can assess and evaluate the patient, get that patient what they need until you can get them to the emergency room. And those are minutes which are lost. So I would like to see if we can if you have people who are interested, get licensed as paramedics. And then take some of that money and get rigs that can be completely outfitted to really save lives. How many people, we look at it in the city of Flint, you have people, I've been in the bank and other places where they've had diabetic episodes. They need to get insulin.
I think from my conversations with the fire chief, the type 2 vehicle is really better suited for our needs. We're not going anywhere outside. We're only going to be serving the city of Flint. We aren't going outside the city limits. We're not transporting people to Lansing or Detroit
But
or
let me
Ann
tell you
Arbor.
this, Mr. Moore, with all due respect. If I'm having a heart attack, I need the ambulance to have the drugs on there. And let me tell you something else. In the suburbs, every single ambulance that comes there, they have the drugs needed to give to you to save your life.
I'm sorry.
They have those.
The type of ambulance, whether it's a 2 or 3, has no bearing on the level of licensure. So we can have paramedics on the type of ambulance that we have currently.
What about your weight, Errol? Because you have a weight issue.
It shouldn't be a problem.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. So my other question, that's just really important to me, because I see people where I live, they're speeding down Flushing Road to get to the hospital, to McLaren or to Hurley, and it's dangerous, because we haven't had any ambulance service. And you know why I know? I went to the 911 center and I sit there with the headphones on. We have went 24 hours with no ambulance service in this city available. It's happened. I've been there, and that's dangerous. That's dangerous. It's been needed way before. When we first got ARPA funds, I wanted to get 4, because I knew all of our firefighters were licensed EMTs, to fill that gap. We're just now getting around to it. It was voted down by this council. I supported that, because people can't get it. And you hear them, and matter of fact, it was to the fact that even the fire department was having people follow them in fire trucks to get some people. That has happened, because we didn't have an available ambulance, and they had to get to the hospital. I appreciate the fact that we're getting this. I would hope that we can get some people who are licensed paramedics, and we can use maybe if they want to go to school. You know, we have to, and I know you have I don't know what your personnel, if you're low in personnel, how low are you?
Chris?
We're
Get it
budgeted
done.
for 87 for FY '25.
I'm sorry.
We are budgeted for 87 for FY '25. Right now, we have only 75 staffed in the fire department, so there's 12 vacancies where we're short on firefighters.
And so you're browning out in stations still, right?
And of the 75 that she mentioned, 11 of those are currently in a fire academy, so they're not even in the stations.
And that is not part of the 7 additional for the ambulance service.
So we have 64?
We have 75 staff right now, which includes the fire chief. We're budgeted for 87.
Now, our 11 new trainers,
So we do have a training class right now.
will that add to the 75? Or is that included?
No, that is part of, the training class is part of the 75. So we're trying to hire, the chief just completed interviews on May 1st to hire additional firefighters for firefighting, but not the ambulance. We need 6 to 8 additional staff for the ambulance. We are licensed with the state of Michigan. With this ambulance, we would be basic life support, or BLS. Now, if we had an alpha unit or paramedic unit or echo unit, paramedics are on that alpha with an EMT or echo with one paramedic. Right now with the state of Michigan bringing on this BLS ambulance, our level of licensure is changing from medical first responder to basic life support. Now, once the success of the ambulance service, we can talk about getting the alpha unit for paramedic and EMT like we did 20, 30 years ago. But right now, we're in the starting stages all over again with this basic life support.
Because they sold off the ambulances.
Ambulance, yes.
Yeah. So how much do we charge for an ambulance? If you call, what is the charge that the city charges a person who calls and needs transporting?
Right now, that price has not yet been determined because.
Do we have a range?
Well, when we prepared the budget, we assumed it's going to be around $500, $550 per ride.
Okay, what is the average cost when you use one of the other agencies?
It should probably be in the same ballpark.
Okay, about the 550,
That-
600?
Yeah, we're trying to match whatever the marketplace, and we were told that was a marketplace average.
Okay, and so the 75 is including the 11 that are in training right now, which means you have 64 that are actual, or the 11 are now working?
We have 75 right now.
Are they working, or
They are working.
are they on the rigs?
No. The 11 aren't going. All right?
They're in the training class.
Okay, thank you. So 11 are not working then? 11 are still being trained to be on the rigs?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so then we have an actual, if we have a fire, we have 64 firefighters who can go to a fire.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we on the same page. So 64. We're looking ideally to have 87 in fiscal year 25. Yes.
That 64 does not, your 64 total is including administrative staff. So right now, we have 7 administrative staff. So when you subtract the 64, it should be roughly 57 suppression staff that can go to emergencies and fires
Okay,
and rescues.
okay. And I think I'm gonna leave some more time for my colleagues because they may have questions. Your department is it's a life-saving department. I appreciate having the ambulance service because we need it. It's needed in this city. We should never have fire trucks, residents following them, in their vehicles to get to an emergency room. We should not. That has happened. We should never go without having an ambulance service or for people 24 hours. And that has happened. I have the reports way before this administration had it, because I go to the 911 center. I go to the Genesee 911 consortium meetings because it's important.
Yeah.
We have a at-risk community, and especially with the Narcan, the overdoses. That's going to take up a lot of the transport with the Narcan. And I need a can of Narcan, not because I do. I need some Narcan. So
Just don't leave it in your car.
Not because but I've had two. I had 2 in one day, and my wife, I have them, and I tell them where there are drug houses at and bad dope with that fentanyl, and it's serious. So, thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Candace? You have any questions? Okay. Linda?
So how are you promoting filling these vacancies? So how are you promoting working for the Flint Fire Department?
We currently are working towards bringing more people in. We go by the usual methods. We advertise saying that we have an opening through, and this comes from human resources. And then once they come in, they do a series of tests, and then once they pass all of that, they come and they start with me. This whole process, we've streamlined it some, but it still takes us about 7, 8 months, start to finish. So the people we currently have in class, those 11 individuals, they will complete the academy July 16th, I believe, 16th or 17th. And then now they'll be free to go into the station, and following them is another class. I've done 3 academies. Well, it will have been 3 academies in 12 months. So this is a large number. I've trained close to 100 people since 2015 for the city of Flint. As soon as we get them, we're training them for other departments, and then they go off to other places. And this is just an ongoing thing, and it's been kind of a revolving door. Chief Wiggins has been a bit of a stopgap for us. He's made a lot of changes that improve the conditions of the department, so we are retaining personnel more. However, we spend a lot of time training and getting people ready to come into the department. And the reason why it's taking us a while, even with establishing the ambulance service, is we have to baby step everything, because incrementally we take one step forward and 2 steps back.
Okay, so you have one academy per year, that's what I hear? You basically, no?
It's as needed. And we've never had this many academies. I have personally done around 6 or 7 academies.
Per year?
No, not per year. I've done 3 now that's going to be taking place this year. However, usually we do 1 every 2 to 3 years, but we're doing multiple every year.
Wow.
Multiple academies, because we're not able to hold on to the personnel.
Okay, so you have multiple academies going simultaneously?
Not necessarily simultaneously, but back to back.
Okay. And so you said the usual methods to obtain applicants. So do you all go to like school career fairs and stuff? Like, so how you all don't think outside the box to to getting people to join?
That isn't necessarily the problem. As far as getting people to come and apply, it is.
Trying to get them to stay?
Yes.
So did you all have in their contract that since you all are giving them optimum training, that they are obligated to stay with the department for X amount of time, or they have to pay for the training?
We currently don't have anything in place for them.
Okay, so you guys are volunteering to train people for free and let them go?
I'm sorry, please repeat the question.
So basically, what you're saying is, because there's nothing in place like that, that's why people are doing it, because there's no repercussions. I can come, I can go to your training, you all can, you're paying me to be trained, and then after you pay me to be trained, I say I appreciate the payment, I'm gonna go ahead down the street to this other fire department.
What you're saying is a good point, and it has been mentioned, but this is something that we're gonna have to put in place, I guess, if we speak to legal about putting something in place so that we can protect ourselves. We did have something when we were giving out signing bonuses for people that were coming on the department. They were obligated to stay for X amount of years, but we haven't done anything or put anything in place for strictly the training. So we do know what the value of the training is, and we've since started working with Michigan Works GST, and they are going to be helping with some of the funding for the individuals that we're bringing in now. Additionally, they are doing things for us to help with recruitment and advertising for us and getting the word out there.
Okay, so that is good to hear, but it sounds like the next plan of attack should be, how are you gonna retain? Correct?
Yes.
Okay, so with that being said, I guess that's something we have to bring to the chief. Yeah, because it doesn't make sense to keep giving people some good training and then just to watch them go.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we'd be wasting our time even having you all recruit. All right, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oops, I was going to turn my mic on, it was already on. Okay, so since everybody's asked their questions, since we're on the subject of training in this instance, if we need 7 to 9 additional firefighters in order to run the one ambulance, and we just brought in 11, and I know one of them is well, no, that was we now will have a fire marshal, because they just completed the police academy. How are we going to ramp up the employment to staff that ambulance? And I'm assuming that these recruits that are currently being trained now are just to maintain the status quo.
Yes.
So how are we going to, if we're bringing on this ambulance in July, and we need 7 to 9 people, where are those 7 to 9 people gonna come from?
We just posted again for the job. I have individuals that are gonna be starting the day after Memorial Day, and
Those are suppression, the interviews.
so we have another class that's gonna be starting sometime in August. And so once that starts, though, all of those new people, they're gonna be folded into that class, and then that'll take us to the end of the year. And then those will be the additional people that we're gonna have. So we're gonna be forced to make do and be rather thin with our current budgeted staffing until we get those people in as well, and then we can be comfortable in where we're going forward. Previously, we had just enough. And so we staffed with just enough, so anytime we'd have an injury or anything would happen, it would have a catastrophic effect on us because we then have to try to have overtime. We'd have to close stations and things of that nature. What we're trying to do is have adequate staffing so that we can provide all of these services and the citizens won't have to go without.
Well, that's what my concern is especially, you know, I'm in the 4th Ward, and we have a lot of those pesky little structure fires over there. And you're running thin already, and then you add the ambulance, and you're short 7 to 9 people to run that ambulance, which makes me a little concerned for staffing levels. Let me go to the capital outlay. Now, I know in fiscal year 2024, I know that Station 5 had their kitchen redone. I know Station 1 needs their kitchen redone. What other stations had their kitchens done, or?
I believe 1 and 8 still needs to be remodeled.
Okay.
3,
And
5, 6.
1, 8, and 6.
1, 8, and 6.
1, 8, and 6, okay. So, and in addition, so we've got $800,000 more in next year's budget for capital improvements. And I thought that we had budgeted in full for all of the kitchens for this year, is that correct?
I believe so.
Like for all of the stations' kitchens to be redone, was that fully budgeted?
I think all of them were in that last FY 24 budget. Me?
So, yeah, just talking to Mike, you might have to get closer to you and pick it up and hold it, yeah. So, how many kitchens were all the kitchens budgeted for fiscal year 24?
I believe so.
Yeah, according to the resolutions that I've seen, I believe they were all included.
Okay, and yet we still have 4 to do?
3.
3 to do. And so those funds will not be used up in fiscal year 24.
I'd have to refer to Chief Wiggins for the answer to that question.
Okay, so we've added $800,000 to fiscal year 25. What capital expenditures are included in that?
There is a piece of equipment in there for 500 and, I want to say 75,000, or 520. 525,000.
Do you know what that is?
What is this, Chief? That 525,000, this is equipment. I think this is for a combination of equipment that firefighters and suppression use, like, could be
Hoses.
some more radios, SCBA's,
$800,000 more than last year?
Well, last year for our, a second. The budget that's being proposed has $750,000 for building additions and improvements, and $525,000 for equipment.
Okay, and we have
And-
we had $1
and-
million in ARPA. I don't, some of
Yeah.
that has been spent. I don't know the number that we've got left. Those funds need to be spent. Do you have that on your spreadsheet, Shay, how much we've spent out of fire? I've got your spreadsheet open, I just didn't know.
Yeah, it should be.
Okay.
I have to locate it, anticipating ARP.
All right, I don't see anything here for,
Okay, so what we did, what the intended purpose for our bunker gears, bunker turnout equipment, we were to purchase the extractors to wash the turnout gear, which, those extractors, remove the carcinogens in the firefighters' bunker coats and pants. And then we had intended on purchasing dryers, and it was for each fire station, and also ladders, gloves, helmets, fire boots, more turnout gear, radios, whether in the apparatus or handheld, SCBA harnesses, masks, tools, motorized equipment, and other related equipment to save a life, to rescue a life, to perform our job, to save lives and for rescue. JAWS, that type of equipment is not cheap.
no, that's why we had, we put $1 million into
And to
that.
service the entire city of Flint, we need that equipment, and,
Right.
yeah.
I'm just wondering how much of that should be over to ARPA. What line are you on?
It's,
397?
on the tab revenue replacement.
Yeah.
397.
Okay,
Sorry, I wasn't speaking in the mic.
that's all right, I could see it. Okay, you've got $1 million as expenditures. We might have to talk about that one, I hadn't gotten to those yet.
Excuse me? No, there's only, the spent is only 80,000 if you look in.
Oh, I
content.
see, okay, so we've got $911,000 left. Is that correct, Shay, from
It's-
looking at your numbers?
It's up to date as of, probably April.
And I got the previous reiteration. So we've got like $900,000 in ARPA money to be spent for fire equipment as well.
Okay.
So that's why I'm wondering how much of what's in the general fund budget can be switched to ARPA?
Well, also too, the, police and fire training facility, I thought
That-
some ARPA money was gonna be used as well, according to the chief. Early on, he did mention that.
Yeah, all we did was approve the engineering, so we don't even know how much it's gonna cost yet.
Right, that's correct.
And we have to obligate all those funds by December 31st, so, I'm just trying to make sure that we have that in there. And that's a concern as to how much the police and training facility's gonna cost, and, where all the money's gonna come from. I think some of it's gonna be CBDG dollars, but I'm not sure too. Like I said, that's speaking off the cuff. So that was one of the things that I had with my question, was the big capital outlay amount of money. Hoses and things like that. I think we bought a dryer, or a couple of dryer for, the fire stations out of ARPA, but I don't know what else. I don't know.
There's two dryers, or is it three, that were,
There's supposed to be at least one dryer. You're supposed to have 2 sets of turnouts and, and a dryer at every fire station, so that the guys could have dry clothes
Yeah.
between runs, where, instead of where they were just using, they were going out back wet. Which we don't want.
Do they have it?
I'm asking.
We have them now, they just arrived, I believe.
The coats or the dryers or,
The extractors and dryers. Did they have? Or don't?
I thought they were delivered.
No,
I was not part of accepting that
Yeah, I was.
equipment.
we're in it, we can get back to you.
okay, yeah, the firefighters do such a great job for my ward that I wanted to make sure that they had the equipment they need, and I see a lot of money being spent on police. So I wanted to make sure that you guys could have what you need so that you could take care of my ward.
Yes, we are.
And the rest of
here
the city, but my ward.
to take care of the citizens.
All right, so that was one of my big things that I had. The staffing, as the other thing. And then, we don't know how much the training center is gonna cost us. And the ambulance, we've talked about quite extensively. I think those were my big question that I would like to know is what makes up that 1.275 million for the capital
We can get that,
improvements?
we'll get that for you, we know what that is.
Okay, thank you very much. How many people are budgeted on this budget?
There are
Do we know?
87 total.
87 total?
Right, that includes administrative staff.
Okay, all right. So if we add, obviously, that the additional personnel will be under the ambulance fund. Are we gonna make that a fund, or are we going to make that a general fund? We're gonna keep the ambulance in the general fund?
Yes,
And you'll give us a budget so that we can adopt that as part of the
absolutely, yes, that's my
budget?
plan.
All right. Any follow-up questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So I was looking at the uniform line. How often do you all get new uniforms? And I'm referring to the firefighters on duty, not just administration.
Every 2 years.
So every 2 years? Okay. Because I see that you all have it budgeted. So when was the last time that you all received new uniforms?
I think they were fitted last year.
Oh, last year?
Yeah,
Okay. All right, thanks.
yeah.
And what does that uniform consist of? Just want to be clear.
It consists of, well, we get boots, not at the same time, we get that at a separate time, but we receive 2 shirts, 2 pairs of pants. And for new employees, it includes brass and things of that nature, belt, coat.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Any other follow-up questions? Everybody good? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are done.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Did a good job.
Thanks, you too.
You had more of a speaking part this year.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
Pretty good, Chris Rock, what a